Welcome to this live stream. I think we had a bit of a delay with getting started there, but welcome nonetheless. You've probably seen the title of this live stream today. It's all about Dolores Cannon, her work, her legacy, the new earth. I'm sure most of you have heard this phenomenon. In fact, I'm going to be referencing some of her book, The 3 Waves of Volunteers and the New Earth. And I want to discuss the concepts in this book and how they relate to some of our ancient wisdom traditions. You know, truth is truth, and I find that there are different ways of articulation, different ways of describing the same thing. And we have wisdom traditions that go back centuries that are describing much of what Dolores is talking about in this book. So I want to get right into it. I want to also welcome you. This is a community. This is a space where everyone is welcome to share. So I engage you to engage in the chat. You might give me a thumbs up. You might not like it. You might give me a thumbs down. Engagement is good nonetheless. I want to hear your questions. I want to hear you communicate your thoughts and ideas, and let's share some of this wisdom together. It's a powerful subject that I've been discussing a lot lately, this phenomena of the new earth, and a lot of people have misunderstanding about what that is, what it's going to look like, how it is going to work. And I want to break down some of those ideas today. I want to help you make sense of what we are moving into. I think it's pretty obvious that we are moving into a profound time in history where things are changing at a rapid rate. Everything from polarization in the world to advancements in technology. Things are moving at an exponential rate, and a lot of us are struggling to keep up with that change. A lot of this change has been discussed in the work of Dolores Cannon. She did a whole book series on conversations with Nostradamus where they dealt with quatrains that spoke of the time that we're living in now. And then her probably most popular work, The 3 Waves of Volunteers and the New Earth, she discusses all about this phenomena of the new earth. What is it? Has it been spoken about in history before? Are there other wisdom traditions that speak of this golden age, this time in history? Well, that's what we are going to get into today. So, without any ado, and please, as I said, I want to see you communicate in the chat, and even if you are watching the replay, that is okay. I welcome, I'm just looking at some of the comments now, and welcome to all those people. And even if you're watching the replay, please engage. This is a community for us to share our thoughts and ideas. Dolores referred to what we are going through as a pivotal shift that would lead us into a reality of growth and enlightenment. Yet she cautioned us that not everybody is going to make the shift. In fact, there are those that want to stay with the old, and I'll quote her directly, they want to stay with what they have created. And you might have noticed this, there are a lot of people leaving this reality at the moment. They're choosing to leave at this time because they're not willing to make the shift. This same shift has been spoken of many times through modern texts to ancient texts. In fact, probably the most well-known reference is in the book of Revelations. John of Patmos prophesied, and I quote, "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away." But it wasn't only John of Patmos and Dolores Cannon that spoke about this pivotal shift that we're going through. Eckhart Tolle, one of my favorite spiritual teachers and authors, spoke in his book, interestingly titled The New Earth as well, about this shift that humanity is going through. Whenever any species is forced to evolve, when that occurs, the environment is changing for that species, and they are forced, if they are going to survive, to actually evolve and change form in some way to match the environment. This is exactly humanity's task, is when we look at everything being energy. We understand this from quantum physics. I think it was Albert Einstein that first said that everything is energy, oscillating and vibrating at different points of frequency, including you, including your physical body, including your thoughts and everything. And then now that quantum physics matched what a lot of people used to think was crazy, and to prove that, if you look at any so-called solid object under a intense microscope, you will see that everything that appears solid is just vibrating and oscillating at different points of frequency. So we are shifting into this new time that Eckhart Tolle spoke about, that John of Patmos in the Bible prophesied about, that there would be a new heaven and a new earth. More specifically, Dolores Cannon pointed to it as a golden age of humanity, 1,000 years of peace. Actually, the Bible says 1,000 years of peace will ensue, will happen on the earth. But not only does the Bible, not only does Eckhart Tolle, not only does Dolores Cannon talk about this, but other ancient wisdom traditions speak of this time also. I'm going to cover a few of them. So this new earth, as I said earlier, that is one term for it. Zoroastrianism, the ancient Persian religion, talked about a savior figure. Now, depending on the way we interpret that could be referring to more than one. A savior figure that would usher in a global time of peace and unity, recognizing the oneness of all humanity. Another spiritual text, St. Malachi's prophecy. This medieval Christian prophecy speaks of a line of popes leading to one final pope who will witness the destruction and the rebirth of the church. Way back to ancient Egypt, in the ancient Egyptian text, they allude to a cycle of death and rebirth, not just for individuals, but for the entire cosmos. Another teaching in modern times that I love is the law of one. The law of one material talks about the idea of a shift from third density to fourth density. This transition from our current state of consciousness, which is separation, which is illusion, to a higher form of consciousness and awareness where love and understanding are the norm and where they actually prevail first and foremost. So according to the Ra material, this transition involves the wording, this can be misunderstood, but the wording used in that book is the term harvest. This term describes the process of where individuals raise their level of frequency and vibration to match the new reality, this density. Okay? Fourth density. This is said to be a realm of higher vibrational nature, where concepts like love and understanding are more integral to the very existence that we're living. It talks about a shift, a transition from the earth as we know it. And Dolores Cannon spoke about this. She said the whole earth itself is shifting into a different dimension. Once asked, when she was doing a regression with one of her clients, they said, well, what is this shift going to look like? And she asked them, because she would often communicate through her client to what she referred to as them. Now, you might want to know what that means. Who are they? I get asked that question all the time. You might refer to them as universal consciousness, SC, which is abbreviated subconscious, higher self, oversoul. We can give all these things different names, but essentially it's pointing to the same thing. And when they spoke with Dolores Cannon and when they communicated, they said, well, look, we don't really have a name anyway, but if you want to give us a name, you can give us any of those names. See, we like getting caught up in labels. It helps us make sense. But they said they didn't really have a name anyway. Now, another spiritual text that alludes to this phenomena, this shift, this coming of a new earth, is the Course of Miracles. And it probably puts it in a little bit of different terms, but it essentially paints two realities: that there is fear and there is love. It goes on to say that the only thing that is real is love, and all fear is just illusion. And that's a shift, isn't it? Shift from one way of thinking, one energy into another, and yet understanding that only one is ultimately real. And yet we get caught in fear, don't we? We get caught in the illusion. We think that it is real. I love the acronym false evidence appearing real. There's another prophecy which is referred to as the Great Year. It's a concept found in various texts and ancient cultures. And it talks, and it's based on the precession of the equinoxes, suggesting a cyclical view of history from some dark ages to what we're now coming into is a golden age. And then further material, and it's back to Dolores Cannon, is the Nostradamus material, Conversations with Nostradamus. Dolores wrote a whole book series on this, where she made contact with Nostradamus, not in when he passed over, but in the time he was living. They made a connection. And he was able to, through this, what some would refer to as a magical device or a black mirror, they were able, through the person in regression, the woman in regression, they were able to have a communication from when that woman who was living in Nostradamus's time as a young man was Nostradamus's assistant. And they were able to have a conversation. Very fascinating stuff. But there were many prophecies that came from that. One prophecy specifically spoke, and I quote, of the great genius. Now, the great genius could be referred to as one man or one person, could be a woman. But I think it is speaking of a consciousness, where great innovation would happen, where great advancements in science and medicine would happen, and it would usher in this new golden age. I think this spirit of the great genius is manifesting at the moment. We're seeing it with great advancements in technology. We're beginning to see it with advancements in medicine as well. A lot of people like getting caught up in negativity. And what I've learned in my spiritual journey is what we give our attention to expands in our reality. So we're faced with a fork in the road, if you like. We're all faced with a pivotal choice. We're either going to go with this new energy, we're going to move into this new earth reality, or we are going to stay with the old. The choice is yours. Are you going to stay with the old earth, the old frequencies, the fear? And we're seeing that at the moment, aren't we? Playing out. War, more fear, the same old narratives being repeated. What did Dolores teach us? When we don't get a lesson, we will just come back and repeat it over and over again. Dolores said not everyone was going to make the shift because energetically they were not prepared to match the frequency and the vibration of the new earth. So they would then, if they weren't willing to make the shift, the evolutionary jump, they would either stay with what they had created with the old, or they would leave this reality. I don't think this is meant to cause any type of fear, because I think ultimately we choose everything. We choose all of the situations of our life. We choose when we're going to incarnate. We choose who we incarnate with. We choose our parents. We choose all these things. Not a lot of people, not everyone rather, likes hearing this, because when you tell somebody that they create their reality, suddenly they become responsible. And sometimes it's easy to blame other people, circumstances, things, situations. But when you really understand that you create your reality, good, bad, or indifferent, suddenly you begin to do what Dolores Cannon taught us to do, which was to manipulate energy. What does that mean? To create, to become a master manifester, to begin to create by what I call with intentionality, rather than leaving it to chance, which so many of us often do. We become habitual in our nature. We let this phenomenon as neuroplasticity play out, where it's almost automatic. We just play out a set of conditioning. But those of us that are moving into this new energy, those of us that are advancing, are realizing that we always had the power all along. What was the dark ages that I referred to about before? It was about a hierarchical system of domination and control, where most people in that time could not read, they weren't educated. And yet we find ourselves in a time now where we have so much information. You know, I was traveling to Thailand a few years ago, and I had been there probably 10 or 15 years prior. And when I returned, I noticed that almost every local that I was interacting with, they had a smartphone device. They were as intricately connected as we are in the West. They're tuned in to all the information that we have access to. So here's an example that this is a phenomenon that is happening worldwide. There is so much information. There are so many videos. I mean, let's face reality here. Not everyone will even finish watching this slide. They might watch a bit of it, because there is so much information. There are so much sources of information that are being broadcast that we actually find it hard to focus. So we really do live in an age of enlightenment. We're living in an age where information is readily available. We're not in a dark age where, you know, it's reserved for a few. Information is power. Knowledge is power if it is applied. So to really learn how to manipulate energy, to become the manifester of your reality, to begin to create intentionally rather than leave it to chance, and then to move into this new earth reality. But not everyone's going to make that shift. Not everybody is choosing to make that shift, because a lot of people want to stay with what they had created, as Dolores said. They want to stay with the fear. They want to stay with their illness. They want to stay with their lack and their limitation. The question is for you, is where are you going to go? Are you going to move into this new energy, or are you going to stay with what you have created in the past? You see, the past has no power over us unless we allow it. And I love this quote by Wayne Dyer, who famously said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. That's not just a play on words. That has great spiritual meaning to it. Because when we let go of the way we saw a situation or a pattern or a belief, for me it was unforgiveness. I was holding on to resentment toward my father, who I felt had done the wrong thing by me and my family years ago. When I made a decision, and it was Dolores Cannon that I listened to, that she said, if you want to go into the new earth, you're going to have to learn to forgive. I quickly made that decision that I wanted to go, that I wanted to raise my frequency, my vibration to match this new energy. And so I changed the way I looked at the situation. No longer did I identify with being the victim of that situation. I realized that people do the best that they can with their consciousness, and that it's not personal. It gave me the permission, it gave me the awareness to be able to let that go, and then begin to now see the whole thing differently. See, it's very liberating when we can change the way we look at things, because truly when we do, the things we look at change also. Is there anything that's keeping you tied to this old paradigm, this old earth, this old reality? Is it unforgiveness? Is it fear? Whatever it is, it doesn't really matter what it is. You have an opportunity to let it go and begin to move into this new energy. Not everybody is going to make that choice. We live in a free will universe, so we get the choice. But ultimately, energy, including us, can never be destroyed. It only changes form. And so we're on an eternal journey. And we're going to make the shift or we're not. I always leave every one of these broadcasts that I do with these words: the best is yet to come. Make it your affirmation. Words are powerful. When you believe that, you will begin to create conditions in your reality that will begin to manifest that as your reality. Please like, thumbs up or thumbs down, or comment or engage with this content. I'll be sharing more on this subject, Dolores Cannon, and many other subjects really soon. Much love and namaste.